Welcome to the Real Estate of Things podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Elliott. I'm joined today by Darion Dunn. Darion, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me, Dalton.
So you're based in Atlanta, and I want to go ahead and hit you with the first question right away. You and I had very different college graduation days. I'm repping the team brand right there as we sit. Go Furman University.
Furman.
Um,
Okay.
we had very different college graduation days, right? I was doing the normal college graduation day thing. You were involved in real estate transaction around your college graduation, right?
That is correct. Real estate was something I knew I wanted to get into when I was in college. When people ask you, when did you start real estate? Many people are referring to when did you do your first transaction. I really consider when someone starts real estate is when they start engaging and immersing themselves in it. And I was doing that in college, my sophomore year of college. So by the time I was graduating, the day I was graduating, I was ready to do my first transaction. I went to go to work the Monday after I graduated, and I also was doing my first deal. So I was ready to start my civil engineering career since I was a Georgia Tech engineer. And I also was ready to jump into my first real estate fix and flip deal.
I'm glad you brought up the civil engineer background because that has to have played, I would imagine, a pretty significant role in your real estate world, the way you view things. Like how has that hyper technical degree played into your real estate trajectory?
Yeah, it's been really beneficial. Most folks that get into the real estate field are usually from the finance background. And I'm one of those guys that got into real estate, and I'm from kind of the construction, technical, engineering background. And even though the finance guys, there's a lot more of them, there's a level of knowledge when you have the technical background that really helps you along the way, especially when you're young in real estate. Contractors can't talk over your head. Engineers and architects really can't talk over your head because you have that same technical experience. I find myself many times actually giving advice and giving notes to my actual architects and engineers because I've done that type of work. For many years, I worked as a staff civil engineer. So I was doing grading plans. I was doing, water lines, sewer line plans. So it's something that I went into civil engineering at Georgia Tech because I knew I wanted to have a professional real estate career. And that was the best way to have that background. And also my father ran a civil engineering firm here in Atlanta. So it was just a natural progression.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And you definitely had a massive leg up getting into the real estate world. Like you said, most people approach it from the finance side, and you having that ultra technical background without having to go through the experiential learning, right? Of like, these issues with this contractor or this architect, like you're able to really understand at a deep academic standpoint everything that's going on right out of the gate. So that's the finance side of it's easy. It's just Excel spreadsheets and stuff. So as long as all that pencils out, that's good to go. So the harder part is the actual execution on the property side of the fence. So I think that flows into Atlantica Properties. So tell me a little bit about your group and what y'all are doing, what your focus is.
Yeah. So Atlantica Properties is a company that my brother and I started in 2010, so about 12 years ago. When I graduated college, I was doing fix and flip deals on my own. And my brother, who's 1 year younger than me and also a Georgia Tech alum, he was doing real estate on his own. So from about 2000, 2001 until 2010, we were actually working individually. He was working at his job, I was working at my job, and we were doing real estate separately as well. And then during the downturn in 2008 and 9, we saw an opportunity to come together to start doing real estate together. So when all the houses across America, including Atlanta, were really cheap after the downturn, we used our money and our savings from our jobs to start buying real estate. And that's really where Atlantica Properties was born. We started buying homes, doing some flip deals, and then we started buying to keep, buying to hold. And we still own today, many of those homes that we bought at, $15,000, $20,000 that are worth, much more than that today. We still own a lot of those homes. And And then we grew the company to start buying multifamily. And then today we have now graduated to doing development, doing new construction development through some partnerships and JV deals. We have started to get to that highest level of real estate where you're actually building from the ground up.
Yeah, it's a whole different world on the land and A&D side of the
Mm-hmm.
fence. So how many years from the first SFR deal you did to call it today?
Yeah. I would say it is 20 years because I would consider my first transaction probably in 2000 when I graduated college. And then today, being 20 years later, and during that time, it's just been this steady increase of the type of deals we're doing, the volume we're doing, the sophistication of the capital, where Lima One Capital has played a major role. And I know we'll get into that. It's really just been the volume and the sophistication of the deals and even some of the partnerships. So it's been a 20-year journey from me, from graduating till today. And it's been just a learning lesson. And one of the biggest, lessons I tell folks is that you just truly have to embrace the process. And that sounds cliche, but it's so, so true. It's not about the transactions because transactions will come, transactions will go, but it's really about the process and learning. So some of the deals, and if you talk to any real estate guys, some of the deals that you learn the most on are deals that didn't go that well, that you ended up getting under contract, but it fell through. You learn so much on deals, not just because you closed them and you took ownership of them or you flipped them or you built that thing. It's just the process. So we've really had a great 20-year process, and there's been a lot of transactions along the way, but it's really about the 20-year journey we've been on.
I love that viewpoint, that kind of philosophy. And I promise I won't take us down a philosophical rabbit hole, but the idea that from an experiential learning standpoint, like everything that happens in life, you can, I feel like some people can make the decision to be a victim or look at things negatively, but you have to look at everything as a lesson, right? And you just have to think and pull experiences, pull lessons out of experiences, right? If you change your viewpoint, then you just look at all of this as, like you said, kind of like one building block on to the next one, and it's gonna, it's all for the better benefit.
And I don't mind going down philosophical rabbit holes because that's where I live. Even though we do this technical work, bricks and sticks in real estate and finance and deals, me and my partner, my brother, we truly do try to make sure that we understand what's important. And we always try to be at 30,000 feet to understand, like, why are we doing this? Whether it be this deal in terms of a financial standpoint, in terms of who are we helping, what neighborhood are we helping, how are we growing the company? Why are we doing this versus that? Alternatives analysis. If you're doing something, that means you're not doing something else. So it's not even about what you're doing. It's all the other opportunities, and that you're not taking advantage of. So we are always very, very conscious about what we're doing. So it's not always about just the technical transaction or the real estate deal. It's about why are you doing those things that you're doing right now. So we actually focus on that a lot of the higher minded things in real estate and life in general.
Yeah, you teed us up for this conversation about digging into your why, right? You and Atlantica, big believer in buying and holding, really providing opportunities in Atlanta and true opportunities for people, and helping tamp down rent growth and stabilization is a focus for you, even though you are a for-profit firm, right? So these you make a couple of pieces a real focus of your mission that are kind of counterintuitive to, I feel like, the mainstream real estate investing. Pull every single penny you can get out of every single project. Not naysaying any particular school of thought, but you have really a positive, holistic view. And talk me through a little bit how you made the decision and some of the examples that you and I have chatted about previously. Walk me through that.
Well, I think in life in general, you have to be principle based and you have to have that why. And then that will lead your decision. So I feel, again, being philosophical, I feel that all decisions are already made if you're filtering it through your principles. So you have your principles with you at all times. So when a decision comes to you, technically the decision is already made. It's just you don't know it yet. So a circumstance comes up. I'll have a decisions to make later today, tomorrow. Technically, those decisions are already made. I just don't know it because I haven't seen the circumstance. So we built our company on that principle of let's put our principles in place. So then when things come and opportunities come, we will naturally know the answer. We'll naturally know the route we need to take, go left or go right. So the principles that we have are affordability and stabilization. That's what we take into our real estate deals, whether they be single family deals or multifamily deals. We want to make sure that families can stay in place and not have to suffer from transiency and be moving every 2 to 3 years because their rent is going up or they can't afford their home. So that's one of our principles that we have built the company on. So we have the buy and hold approach so we can actually accomplish that. So because that's our principle, we want to keep rents low and to have neighborhood stabilization. We need to have a long-term approach to our real estate deals. We can't necessarily get in and out of every deal in 2 to 3 years because that cost basis is going to keep going up for the future owners of that property, which means those tenants, if it's a rental deal, are going to have to keep paying more to keep up with that rising cost basis. So many of our deals in our portfolio, we have owned probably for 10 plus years, and neighboring properties, whether they be single family homes or multifamily properties, have to charge much higher rents than us and actually probably are making a smaller margin. They're charging higher rents, but actually making less money just because they bought it at a higher basis. So there's nothing inherently wrong with buying and selling frequently. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but you have to have some landlords like myself that are staying in for the long term so you can keep rents down and keep families in place for the long term as well.
Yeah. What do you think? That has a big community impact, and you and Atlantica are, you're not dealing in small numbers in terms of units, right? Like we've talked about kind of 72 home portfolio that I know on the Lima One Capital side we finance with you all, and just what's, I guess I'll lie and I'll take us down the philosophical rabbit hole. Yeah. But what's the end goal there? Like what's the core piece of that mission?
It's to really garner those partnerships, and we consider our tenants, or if we're selling something, the folks that are buying from us, true partners, and not in a sense of just to say the right thing and have a corporate tagline. We could not do what we do without those partners. So if you're a partner of mine, why would I want a deal that only benefits me, that only has me profit or prosper from that? We have to take the approach of we can make money and do well while we're doing good. So when we purchased in 2019, 72 single family homes, rental properties from a housing authority here in Metro Atlanta, we went in with principles. We were actually bidding on this with other even bigger investment groups. But when I pitched to this housing authority, I want to convert all of these 72 rental properties into stabilized owner-occupied properties. With that pitch, they sold us the deal. And that deal had built-in profit in it because we were buying it from a housing authority, which wasn't trying to sell it at the top value. With that principle, we won that deal. So we almost had our profit built in. So we made money. Myself and the investors made a lot of money. But we had the approach of, I want to create wealth for 72 new families. So when we took that principled approach to that deal, we were able to accomplish a partnership type approach to the deal where we could make money, but then the folks on the other side of the transaction, the folks buying these homes, can in essence have stabilized housing for the next 30 years, for the next generation. They can hand it off to their kids or their grandkids. And we finished selling those homes off in 2021. It was a 2-year initiative of buying these homes, selling them off to homeowners. We gave first rights of refusal to the tenant in place. And many of those tenants bought the home they had been living in and been paying rent. And many of those folks, because the interest rates have been really low the last couple of years, their mortgage was cheaper than the rent they were paying us. They literally were paying less than what they were paying in their mortgage just because rates have been so historically low. So it's one of those things where I made a profit off of that deal. That family has a lower housing cost, and they're going to benefit from the appreciation down the line on that home. So it's something that if you take that partnership approach instead of the antagonistic approach to real estate, it really does benefit a community, and that's what we're about. And if you have that principled approach, you separate yourself as well. We don't want to be another just transactional real estate company, because there's tons of them out there. When we approach a situation, we say, how can we make a bigger impact? And when you do that, folks actually choose you and actually want to work with you. So we also see it as a strategic advantage. More companies want to partner with us or work with us or do deals with us because we're not just about making money. So it's something that is not just, to give ourselves a pat on the back that we're doing well. It actually is a strategic advantage for us.
Yeah, money is not the most important thing in business. Trust is the most important thing in business.
That's it.
Right? You
That's
have
really
to
it.
trust somebody before you even have a discussion about money, right?
Yep.
And I feel like oftentimes one can get fixated on dollar signs, and you have to look at the relational part of it. And thanks for bringing that full circle. The philosophy makes sense to me now completely. That the viewpoint of who's on the other side of the table and that partnership approach, that's really the glue that bonds it together. So it
really is.
That's great. I see the short, medium, and long term benefit all in. Yes. So I'm terrible about switching gears, going all over the place. Pinball brain. So talk to me about A&D. All right, when did you make the jump into A&D? It is, on the Lima One side, we just partnered last year with this group, Land A&D Group, Setanta, out of Charlotte, and that was our way of tackling the A&D problem, because we would have folks come to us, and it's just not in our wheelhouse. Right?
Yeah.
Like we would do ground up construction on SFRs, but land A&D is just a whole different beast for us, and something that could we have dedicated resources to it? Yes, but we wanted to focus on kind of our bread and butter, and this partnership came up at the right time. But for years and years and years, right? Like Courtney Newmans, who's a good friend of mine and colleague, and he's kind of a head of sales for us at Lima One. I would always reach out to him when I was running the broker program of like, hey, do you know anybody? Because Courtney knows everybody. Do you know anybody who can help on the A&D side of the fence? And it was always like, it's a tough world. So it's a very different world. So talk to me about kind of your entry into that world. What have the pain points been, or has it just been a seamless kind of angelic choir? Everything's going great and wow.
It's definitely, acquisition and development is definitely a different world. And we can kind of talk about the reasons why. One, because there's more risk involved because you're truly envisioning something. It's like when you are buying a home or you're buying an apartment or office building or strip mall, it's there. It's performing. And even if it's not performing, it was performing at some point. So you literally have a history. Acquisition and development is something where everyone, the developer, the financiers, everybody is taking a big risk because you can't look to something that has happened. You can maybe look around an area, but that piece of property, nothing has happened. So it's so different in the type of capital and the type of investment and the type of time that it takes to do those types of deals. We knew we wanted to get into it simply because the inventory in Atlanta is just so scarce for single family and multifamily. So if we knew that that is the only thing we were chasing, the single family, multifamily acquisitions, we would be, we wouldn't have the pipeline that we needed. So we knew we wanted to graduate into doing development. So that's one of the reasons we went into it. We knew it was going to be hard because I come from that world of civil engineering where I was working with many clients. I was doing their, engineering plans for developments. So I knew the toughness of that world. And it's just really that risk reward. There's so much upside to doing development and in acquiring land, developing land, putting in the infrastructure. There's so much upside simply because there's so much risk involved. So I would definitely say it's not meant to be for the new investor, but it's something that if you have the right, skill set and you have the right partnerships, you can get into that world. And it's something that we always talk about, the power of partnerships. we're doing it with strategic partnerships. Folks that have done new construction multifamily and folks that have done subdivisions. So we've linked up with them to kind of co-GP deals, to be co-general partners on deals, so we can bring our knowledge of real estate or that market, and financiers. They can bring the knowledge of that construction and the development side. So it's something that it's been pretty smooth for us, but that doesn't mean that it's been without its regular, kind of bumps in the road, because that's the world that you're in. You're literally creating something that didn't exist. So you don't know what's around any corner, just because it's literally raw. It's undeveloped.
Yeah, it is. It's a completely different beast, and I want to talk a little bit about kind of the development side in your world on some townhome and multifamily
Mm-hmm.
projects. Really, the kind of Grove Park neighborhood,
Yeah.
which is home to really a big Microsoft project that's
Yeah.
going on, and talk to me about what you're doing in that area, why that area is significant. Um, and really bring it back to your commitment. You're developing townhomes there, and you
Mm-hmm.
have some of those set aside for
Yeah.
more affordable housing. And it just goes back to, many investors may look at that and say, you are leaving money on the
Yeah.
table. What are you doing? And yeah, I think your response would be, yes, we are, and we're doing it purposefully and
Mm-hmm.
thoughtfully. So talk to me about that whole project in the area.
Yeah, so there is a development project that we're doing in the Grove Park neighborhood of Atlanta. It's on the west side of Atlanta. It's an underserved area that's kind of the last, kind of oasis of Atlanta that it still has some cheap real estate. It's inside of the city of Atlanta proper. Microsoft got word of this neighborhood, and they recently, a couple of years ago, bought a large parcel of land, and they're putting their new headquarters there. So we, about a year ago, put a 5-acre piece of land under contract. We had to go through the entire rezoning process. Approximately 1 month ago, we finalized that year rezoning process. On December 6th of 2021, we got the rezoning. We got the City of Atlanta Council to approve the rezoning of this residential parcel to be a multifamily parcel, so we can put more density on there, to put townhomes on there. So we're going to put 43 townhomes on there. 33 of them are going to be market rate, and 10 of those are going to be set aside for families making 80% area median income or less. The reason we did that is because we knew we couldn't get the density that we were asking for without coming to that neighborhood and actually saying, we want some homes in this new development that actually can be afforded by the legacy residents of this community. When you're coming into a neighborhood, being a developer, and you're building homes that those people in those neighborhoods could not afford, that's how you get the big bad developer, title. And it's in Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, and it's like this in many jurisdictions, you have to get the approval of neighborhoods. In Atlanta, they're called neighborhood planning units, NPUs. You have to go before the neighborhood planning unit and get their approval or recommendation, and then you go before the city council, the zoning review boards. So you don't want that neighborhood to say, we don't want this development. So we went into this deal self-imposing these set-aside units, where 10 of these are going to be sold to families making a maximum of this amount of income, where the rest of them can be sold at market rate. They'll be probably sold for very high luxury prices, but we're going to make sure that that community has homes that the legacy tenants and homeowners could afford. So again, it's that approach of, to get the density that we wanted and to get the rezoning that we wanted, which would benefit me, I have to give something to my partner. And my partner in this case is the literal neighborhood. This neighborhood needs to approve this rezoning. So here's what I'm offering to you. So it's that same principled approach to, let's create a partnership.
Yeah, it feels like there's a strong case that could be made, and not that, not to mix kind of business and benevolence too much, but a strong case that could be made where your business philosophy and the partnership approach has generated more revenue than if you would have taken just kind of an off-the-shelf vanilla approach and been solely dollar and ROI focused, that it has afforded you opportunities. It really sounds like that's kind of a big competitive advantage, I would tag it as. Like, what we're on the Lima One side of the fence, we're always looking at, as this this industry becomes more and more
Mm-hmm.
commoditized.
Yep.
Right? Like we have to set ourselves apart above and beyond rate, fee, leverage, those basic
Yeah.
things. Those are all table stakes. Those are tickets
Yeah.
to the game. Everybody has one. So it's how are you different, and then that's how you really level up, as having a real different, positive competitive advantage, and kind of the mission on Atlantica
That's so
seems to
true.
be just that.
That is really true. You said it best. We take the approach that your expertise in whatever industry you're in, and in our case, it's real estate. That's par for the course. If you're doing this on any high level, that's what's expected from you, to know real estate, to know the market, to know deals, to know, whatever it is you're doing. But how do you differentiate yourself? And we knew we did not want to grow in the real estate industry, swimming in the same waters everybody's swimming and going the same paths. We go those paths that are less traveled on purpose, because they might be a little harder, but there's a lot less congestion. So we have gotten a reputation in the Metro Atlanta area of being that thoughtful landlord, that thoughtful developer, where we want to have affordability. We're self-imposing these things because it does a greater good. And that has given us so many opportunities over the past few years. It's almost every opportunity we've gotten, it's because somebody sees our mission and saying, we want to link up with you. We want to actually help you grow. Developers have come to us and saying, hey, you want to get into new construction apartments? I've seen what you're doing, on the acquisition side. Hey, let's team up. That has literally happened to us. Big, developers, major market developers want to work with us because they're seeing what we're doing and want to link up with that brand. So it's branding yourself, not just to get exposure, because I'm not on social media. It's not about exposure for that sake, but exposing the mission, and not necessarily just yourself. Just exposing that mission. If you expose that mission and make that the face of your organization instead of necessarily your own face, it can get you so much farther along. And we've really benefited from that.
Yeah, I thank you for real for being a positive lift in the industry. Right? You mentioned kind of the big bad wolf developer and some of the stereotypes that are around our real estate space. What you're doing is really driven by a noble purpose, and that's meaningful, and it's something that just is a symbiotic relationship for you and everyone who is involved with you and your projects. So really, thank you for being one of the good guys. Super happy to have you on this podcast. Tell everybody they want to go see what Atlantica Properties is doing. Where can they go? Where can they? What's the website? How can they take a peek?
Yeah, if you guys want to contact us, you can go to atlanticaproperties.com. That's the best way to get in touch with us. We have a contact us page. That email goes directly to my personal inbox. So if there's anything that you want to talk about, have questions, or have any opportunities for partnership, you can get in contact with us on our website.
Beautiful. Darion, thank you so much for carving out some time to chat with me, my friend.
No problem. Thanks so much, Dalton.
Thanks to everyone for listening. Take care.